In this video, I will explain how the classes, fields, methods, and relationships are represented in the UML class diagram. I will also explain how this diagram connects the actual code of my banking system and this UML class diagram. It gives a visual structure of the program. It shows the main classes in the system, what data each class stores, what actions each class performs, and how the classes are connected to each other. In UML, each class is represented using a rectangle divided into sections. Like all the classes are divided into three rectangles. For example, let's take the example of the account class that we have here. So in this code, this we have an account class, and the top section, it contains the name of the class. For example, this class is called an account class. Similarly, this class is called a transaction class, but here the transaction class is abstract, so we have written abstract with it. And then the middle section, it represents the fields, which are called attributes. These are the variables that store the data inside the class. For example, the account class, it contains the fields such as name and balance. And the name and balance, they have a very specific formatting that they have to be written with. And then we have the methods, which also have a certain formatting. It is in the bottom section of our class. And methods are the behaviors or the actions that the class can perform. For example, the account class has the methods such as deposit, withdraw, and print. And as I talked about, like these attributes and the methods, they have a specific way in which they have to be written. So the very first thing that comes while formatting them, is the assess modifier. In UMLs, these symbols are used to show assess modifiers, the plus, the minus. There is also an hash symbol that is in the transaction class. A plus means that it is public, that everyone can use it, everyone can access it outside the class. Minus means private, so it can only be used inside that class only. And this is the same idea as using the public and the private keywords in C# code. Then we have inheritance here. This relationship shows inheritance, the hollow triangle ones. Deposit transaction, withdraw transaction, and transfer transaction, they inherit from the abstract transaction class. This means they reuse the common field and the methods from the transaction instead of writing the same code again and again. And then we have an abstract class. The transaction class is marked as abstract. This means it is a base class and we do not create the direct objects from it. Instead, it provides shared structure for the specific transaction classes. Then we have composition here. So composition here is this one with the filled diamonds. Um, this is composition as I told. Transfer transaction is made up of a withdraw transaction and a deposit transaction. This makes sense because a transfer is completed by withdrawing the money from one account and depositing it into another account. And in this code, this means that a transfer transaction, it creates and owns the objects of the withdraw transaction and deposit transaction internally. Then I have association. This line um, it shows an association. The bank class is associated with the account and the transaction because it stores and manages the accounts and the transactions. Bank system is also associated with bank because it creates and uses the bank object for the main menu and user interaction. So this entire diagram is basically a blueprint of the code. Each class box in the diagram becomes a class in the program. The fields in the diagram becomes variables or properties in the code. The methods in the diagram becomes the functions inside the classes. So the relationships also match the code. Inheritance in the diagram matches the child classes inheriting from the abstract transaction class. Composition matches with the transfer transaction using the withdraw and the deposit transaction objects. Association matches classes using each other, such as bank managing accounts and transactions. So, in order to conclude, this UML class diagram, it clearly represents the structure of my banking system. It shows the classes, the fields, the methods, and relationships in a visual way. It also connects directly to the code because the diagram acts as a design plan for how the classes are implemented. And this makes the program much easier to understand, maintain, and explain.